It began on a crisp autumn day in the year 2145, when the first permanent human colony was established on Mars. Earth had long been facing the consequences of overpopulation, resource depletion, and political strife. Humanity had been on the brink for decades, struggling to survive, innovate, and find a way forward. Mars was the first step in an ambitious plan: the colonization of other planets, the expansion of human influence beyond the solar system, and, eventually, the discovery of the stars. The International Space Federation, ISF, a coalition of Earth's remaining great powers, spearheaded the mission to Mars, quickly establishing a self-sustaining settlement, New Horizon. With its success came an undeniable truth: humanity, for all its flaws, was capable of remarkable things. The technology that had once seemed like science fiction had become a reality: faster-than-light travel, quantum energy sources, and AI systems capable of running entire colonies. Human ingenuity was the cornerstone of this technological revolution, and the race to push further into space had begun. Captain Alia Gray, a decorated military officer and brilliant strategist, was tasked with leading the first interstellar expedition. She had been handpicked to command the Discovery, a colossal starship designed to carry humanity to the nearest exoplanet systems in search of new habitable worlds. But beyond the scientific goals, there was another, more audacious one: establishing human dominance across the stars. For centuries, Earth had been a victim of exploitation, suffering under the control of various intergalactic powers. Now, humanity's time had come. The Discovery was fitted with the latest advancements in both weaponry and diplomacy. Its crew was a mix of brilliant scientists, hardened soldiers, and diplomats who had one mission in mind: to ensure that humanity's expansion into the galaxy was not only peaceful but also assertive. Humanity had always been underestimated, ridiculed even, as primitive and short-sighted. But under the leadership of Captain Gray, the crew of the Discovery had a singular goal: to make sure that humanity's voice echoed throughout the galaxy. As the Discovery prepared to launch, Earth itself was undergoing a transformation. The once decentralized political systems had coalesced into a single united government, the Galactic Federation of Earth, led by a coalition of elected representatives and military leaders. The Federation had one goal: to ensure humanity's survival by any means necessary. The resources gathered from Mars, along with the new energy sources harnessed from quantum physics, had propelled the Federation into a new age of prosperity. They were no longer a fractured world but a singular, determined force with the power to reshape the universe. When the Discovery finally launched, its destination was Proxima Centauri, a star system just over 4 light-years away. The journey would take decades, but the promise of new worlds, planets rich with untapped resources and undiscovered species, was worth every sacrifice. As the starship surged toward the vast unknown, the crew of humanity's flagship knew one thing for certain: they were no longer simply travelers in space. They were conquerors, heralding the rise of a new intergalactic power. Captain Gray gazed out at the stars from the observation deck, her mind filled with visions of humanity's future. The unknowns were vast, but the possibilities were even greater. She knew that the first encounters with alien species would test humanity's mettle, but the Federation's strategy was clear: diplomacy first, but prepared for conflict. Humanity would negotiate with the civilizations they encountered, but should those negotiations fail, they would make it clear that they were not to be trifled with. But unbeknownst to Captain Gray and her crew, an ancient alien species had been watching Earth's rise. For centuries, they had quietly observed the fledgling human race, dismissing them as insignificant. But now, with the development of faster-than-light travel and the rise of the Federation, humanity was no longer a primitive species. The time had come for these ancient beings to take action. The Discovery made its first jump through the folds of space, a momentous event that sent shockwaves through the galaxy. As they emerged into the Proxima Centauri system, the crew's excitement was palpable. It was a success, a sign that humanity was not just a product of Earth's limitations but a force capable of shaping the future. What they would discover on their journey, however, would change the course of history forever. The story of humanity's rise to power was just beginning. With every new world they encountered, every new species they interacted with, and every battle they fought, humanity would prove that their place among the stars was not a matter of chance but a destiny earned through ambition, determination, and a relentless desire to survive. As Captain Gray stood at the helm of the Discovery, she could almost hear the stars themselves whispering, welcoming humanity into the galactic fold. The future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity was ready to claim its place as the true rulers of the stars. The Discovery had spent weeks exploring the Proxima Centauri system. Its crew marveled by the possibilities unfolding before them. They discovered a rich variety of planets, some resembling Earth in climate and atmosphere, others far more hostile, but each one a potential prize for humanity's growing empire. Yet, with every new world they scanned, a strange unease began to settle over the crew. It was not just the daunting scale of space or the alien landscapes before them, there was something more. The first anomaly came in the form of an uncharted moon orbiting Proxima Centauri b. On its surface, deep underground, they detected a faint energy signal, complex, patterned, and undeniably artificial. It wasn't much, but it was enough to send ripples through the Federation command back on Earth. Captain Aaliyah Gray ordered an immediate investigation. The Discovery set a course for the moon, its crew prepared for what they assumed would be their first true encounter with an alien civilization. When they landed, they found an eerie silence. The moon was barren, scarred by ancient craters and geological upheaval. But beneath the surface, the signal led them to a vast underground network of tunnels, built with materials unlike anything they had ever seen. As they ventured deeper, the crew uncovered remnants of a long-forgotten civilization. Massive walls covered in alien symbols, intricate mechanical devices that seemed to defy physics, and a strange metallic alloy that hummed with power. But there were no signs of life, no creatures, no inhabitants, only the whispers of a bygone age. Yet, the signal grew stronger as they went deeper, until they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the moon. Inside, they found what could only be described as a relic, a colossal, dormant machine, unlike any technology known to humanity. Its purpose was unclear, but its scale was immense, and it radiated an undeniable energy. Then, as they attempted to access the machine's control systems, something unexpected happened. The device began to hum, its lights flickering to life. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the chamber, not in a language they understood, but in a strange, telepathic manner that bypassed the need for speech. A shiver ran down the spine of every crew member. The voice was clear, cold, and calculated. "You are not welcome here." It was the first sign of intelligent life beyond Earth, and the first sign that not all civilizations in the galaxy were eager to greet humanity with open arms. The crew was stunned, paralyzed in the face of such a response. It was an alien intelligence, old, vast, and seemingly uninterested in the Federation's presence. Captain Gray was the first to recover, ordering her crew to halt all attempts to interact further with the machine and to evacuate the site immediately. But it was too late. The moon's surface began to tremble, and the ground beneath them cracked open. A massive structure, hidden beneath the surface, began to rise. It was a warship, a colossal vessel that seemed to be awakening from centuries of slumber. Before they could react, the ship's weapons systems came online, and a pulse of energy shot out from its hull, disabling the Discovery's communications and shields. The crew scrambled to respond, but it was clear, they were outmatched. The warship's power dwarfed anything humanity had ever encountered. In the chaos that followed, Captain Gray made a bold decision. She ordered the crew to abandon the moon and return to the Discovery, which had been heavily damaged but was still functional. As they scrambled to evacuate, the alien vessel released a single transmission, an ultimatum. "You will leave. If you return, you will not be allowed to leave alive." The Discovery managed to make it back into orbit, but not without a heavy cost. Several crew members were injured, and the ship itself was severely damaged. The team had failed to unlock the full potential of the alien machine, and they had learned one harsh truth: not all aliens would welcome humanity with open arms. Back aboard the Discovery, Gray stood in the command center, contemplating the implications of what had just occurred. This was not what they had expected. The Federation's dream of peaceful exploration was already being challenged. Humanity had crossed paths with a force far beyond their own understanding, and it was clear that their mission would not be as simple as they had once believed. "Do we retreat?" asked Lieutenant Marcus Juno, the ship's tactical officer. His voice trembled with uncertainty, a rare break in his usual stoic demeanor. Gray took a moment before responding. "We don't retreat. We regroup. We learn. And we prepare. This galaxy is vast, and there are others like this one. But if we're going to rise to power, we need to understand that not all of them will be as easy to persuade." The encounter with the alien warship was a wake-up call for humanity. It wasn't just about exploration anymore, it was about survival, strategy, and showing the galaxy that humanity would not back down. The stakes had risen, and the Discovery's mission had taken on a new, more dangerous tone. The Federation's rise to power would no longer be a simple march of progress. It would be a battle, against ancient forces, unknown dangers, and the harsh realities of a galaxy that would not give up its secrets without a fight. As the Discovery limped back to their base of operations in the Proxima Centauri system, the crew knew that the road ahead would be filled with more challenges. The stars had welcomed them, but they had also warned them, humanity was not yet ready to claim their place at the top of the galactic hierarchy. And yet, Captain Aaliyah Gray was resolute. They had already taken the first step. Now, they would adapt, evolve, and prepare for whatever came next. Because the stars had no idea what humanity was capable of, and neither did the alien powers that thought they could stop them. The damage to the Discovery was extensive, and it would take months to repair the ship to full operational capacity. During this time, Captain Aaliyah Gray and her crew had no choice but to face the harsh reality of their situation. The galaxy was not the unexplored frontier they had hoped for. The alien warship they had encountered on the moon of Proxima Centauri b was not a solitary relic, it was part of a greater galactic presence, one that had already taken notice of humanity. The Federation, back on Earth, received Gray's report on the encounter, and it sent shockwaves across the globe. The implications were enormous. Not only had humanity made first contact with an ancient alien species, but it had also provoked a hostile response. In a rare move, the Galactic Federation of Earth called for an emergency summit to discuss the growing threats facing humanity's ambitions. But not all leaders agreed on the next steps. Some factions in the Federation argued for immediate retaliation, seeing the alien species as a threat to their expanding dominance. Others, however, insisted that humanity had no choice but to focus on diplomacy and restraint. But the stark reality of the Discovery's failure to secure the alien technology was clear: humanity was not yet ready to take on the galaxy's most ancient forces, and it needed to regroup. Amidst this political turmoil, a new development emerged. The Federation's most powerful warships, the Vanguard and Defiant, were dispatched to the Proxima Centauri system as reinforcements, led by Fleet Admiral Michael Cortez. The orders were clear: investigate the alien warship and determine whether it was part of a larger network of hostile factions. Meanwhile, Captain Gray struggled with her own doubts. She knew that humanity could not afford to shy away from conflict, but her crew's experience had shown just how dangerous it could be to overestimate their own capabilities. Yet, the stakes were too high. The Federation was hungry for power, and she had been entrusted with leading humanity's charge into the stars. The temptation to prove their strength was difficult to ignore, but she knew the galaxy was full of dangers, some far beyond human comprehension. Then, a cryptic transmission was intercepted by the Discovery. It was a message in an unfamiliar language, accompanied by a symbol, a silhouette of the ancient warship they had encountered on the moon. The transmission was brief but chilling: "We are the Warborn. Your kind has stirred ancient forces. The stars are not yours to command." The message was a warning. The Warborn were an ancient and powerful race, born from the ashes of a long-dead empire. For millennia, they had silently observed the rise and fall of civilizations across the galaxy, and they had no intention of allowing a species as young and reckless as humanity to dominate the stars. As the Vanguard and Defiant arrived in the Proxima Centauri system, they encountered the Warborn fleet, an imposing armada of massive warships, each one far larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever constructed. The Warborn's vessels were dark and imposing, their weapons capable of devastating entire planets with a single strike. These were not the peaceful explorers humanity had hoped to find, they were warriors, and they had come to show humanity just how small they truly were. The first battle between the Warborn and the Federation was nothing short of catastrophic. The Vanguard and Defiant were forced to engage in a desperate defense, their advanced weaponry and shields barely enough to fend off the relentless assault from the Warborn's armada. Despite the Federation's superior numbers and technology, they were outmatched, and the Warborn's advanced tactics and sheer firepower overwhelmed them. Captain Gray, still aboard the Discovery, watched in horror as the Federation's warships were decimated one by one. She had always believed in humanity's superiority, but in the face of the Warborn's might, that belief was being shattered. The Federation's fleet was forced to retreat, its survivors scattered across the Proxima system. The Warborn had not only destroyed their ships, they had broken humanity's resolve. In the aftermath of the battle, Gray was called upon by the Federation's leadership to make a decision that would shape the future of humanity's galactic ambitions. The Warborn had made their intentions clear, they would not tolerate humanity's rise to power. But retreating would mean surrendering to an ancient enemy that would never allow humanity to claim the stars. Faced with the weight of this decision, Captain Gray gathered her most trusted officers in the Discovery's war room. Lieutenant Marcus Juno, the ship's tactical officer, was the first to speak up. "We can't just run. They're not going to let us retreat. If we give up now, we're done for. We need to strike back." "But how?" Gray responded. "We've seen their ships. Their weapons are light years ahead of ours. A direct confrontation would be suicide." "We don't need to fight them head-on," Juno replied. "We need to learn. There has to be a weakness in their strategy, something we can exploit. Our technology might be behind theirs, but we're adaptable. We've got to use that to our advantage." Gray considered his words carefully. She knew he was right. Humanity had always been a species that overcame the odds through sheer ingenuity. They weren't the strongest, but they could outthink their enemies, adapt to challenges, and survive against overwhelming odds. If they were going to face the Warborn, they would need to be clever. They would need to fight a different kind of war. "We'll need to gather intelligence. We'll need to understand them better," Gray said. "We're not backing down. We're going to make them understand that humanity is not going to be crushed so easily." As the Discovery began repairs, the Federation's surviving fleet regrouped. The stage was set for humanity's next move. It wasn't going to be a straightforward battle for dominance, it was going to be a war of survival. The Warborn had underestimated humanity once, but they would not make that mistake again. Now, the stakes were not just about power, they were about ensuring humanity's future in a galaxy filled with ancient, unforgiving forces. The Warborn had declared their intent, but Captain Aaliyah Gray and her crew would make sure that humanity's voice was heard, whether the galaxy was ready or not. The Proxima Centauri system had become a battleground, and the dust had only just begun to settle. The Warborn had struck humanity hard, but Captain Aaliyah Gray and the Federation were not a race to be beaten so easily. The Discovery limped back to its hidden base of operations, and the Federation's surviving fleet regrouped. What had begun as a simple mission of exploration had now escalated into an all-out struggle for survival. Humanity's place in the galaxy was in jeopardy, and it was clear that any hope of overcoming the Warborn would require more than brute force, it would require knowledge, strategy, and an unyielding determination. After the devastating battle, Gray and her officers convened to reassess their position. Lieutenant Marcus Juno, still brimming with ideas, wasted no time in suggesting a bold course of action. "We've seen their power," Juno began, pacing in front of the war room's holographic display, showing the wreckage of Federation ships scattered across Proxima Centauri. "But we also saw their tactics. They're not invincible. We can learn from them." Gray studied the map before her, her fingers drumming lightly on the table. "Their strategy was decisive. Their weapons are superior, but it was their speed and coordination that caught us off guard. If we can match that, we might stand a chance. But that's just the surface, Juno continued. What we really need is to understand who they are, how they think, and why they've waited so long to act. We need answers. Gray nodded. We need to find a way to infiltrate their systems, discover their weaknesses. If we're going to survive this, we have to know our enemy inside and out. As the Discovery's repairs continued, Gray set in motion a risky plan to gain intelligence about the Warborn. The Federation had already scoured the wreckage of their warships, but little useful data had been recovered. The Warborn had clearly anticipated that humans would try to reverse-engineer their technology, so they had embedded powerful encryption protocols and hidden failsafes in their ships. However, there was one lead that still held potential, a mysterious, uncharted region of space known as the Abyss. The Abyss was a vast and nearly uninhabited expanse of space, marked by gravitational anomalies, black holes, and cosmic storms. It was a place where starships had gone missing for centuries, and even the most advanced navigational systems struggled to make sense of it. But it was also rumored to be the location of an ancient Warborn stronghold, one that had been abandoned centuries ago, long before their sudden resurgence in the Proxima system. If there was any place where secrets of the Warborn could be uncovered, it was there. Captain Gray made the decision to venture into the Abyss. The Discovery, still far from fully repaired, would lead the mission. Accompanying them would be a small fleet of Federation vessels, chosen for their speed and stealth capabilities, making them more suited for the dangerous journey into the Abyss. They would be entering hostile territory, and the risks were enormous, but it was their only hope. As they approached the edge of the Abyss, the feeling of isolation and danger hung over the crew like a dark cloud. The vast emptiness of space beyond the safety of the Proxima Centauri system was oppressive, and the gravitational anomalies created a constant strain on their navigation systems. Even the advanced AI systems aboard the Discovery struggled to keep the ship on course. But they pressed forward, determined to uncover the truth behind the Warborn and their ancient empire. Days turned into weeks as the fleet ventured deeper into the Abyss, their communications with Earth growing weaker and more sporadic. The farther they went, the more strange phenomena they encountered, freak gravitational shifts, pockets of dark matter, and uncharted nebulae. It was clear that something ancient, something powerful, lay hidden within this region of space. Then, one day, as the Discovery's sensors detected an unusual energy signature, they came upon what they had been searching for, a massive structure, floating in the void, surrounded by a pulsating energy field. It was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. The structure was a relic of a bygone era, but its sheer scale and complexity were beyond anything the Federation could comprehend. This was no mere station or colony, it was a fortress, a stronghold built by a civilization far older and more advanced than humanity's. Gray's heart raced as she ordered the fleet to approach cautiously. The structure was clearly dormant, but there was an undeniable sense of malevolent purpose radiating from it. They docked with the fortress, and the crew disembarked to explore its inner workings. Inside, they found the remnants of an ancient Warborn civilization. The halls were vast and silent, their walls covered in intricate carvings that seemed to pulse with energy. The technology was stunning, far beyond anything the Federation had encountered, but there were no signs of life, no evidence of the Warborn themselves. It was as if the structure had been abandoned in haste, its creators fleeing before something far worse could reach them. It was in the heart of the fortress that they uncovered the true nature of the Warborn. They were not simply warriors, but the product of an ancient galactic war, one that had torn apart an entire empire. The Warborn had once been part of a larger species, one that had created an advanced technological civilization capable of dominating the stars. But the Warborn had been the survivors of a cataclysmic event, a war that had wiped out their entire race. They had retreated into isolation, awaiting the return of their enemies. The Warborn were not merely a species, they were the remnants of a galactic conflict that spanned millennia. And now, with humanity's sudden rise to power, they were determined to eradicate any new threat before it could challenge their legacy. With this newfound knowledge, Captain Gray and her crew realized the stakes of the war they were about to enter. The Warborn were not just fighting for territory, they were fighting for their very existence, determined to keep humanity from ever becoming a threat to their ancient empire. But the Federation now had something far more valuable than they had before: understanding. The Warborn were not invincible, and humanity had the tools to fight back. The secrets they had uncovered would shape the next phase of their struggle. As the Discovery and the Federation fleet prepared to return to the front lines, Captain Gray stood before her crew, resolute in her leadership. "We've learned their history. Now we need to write our own," she said, her voice firm. "We may be the newcomers to this galaxy, but we're not going to let the past define us. We'll fight for our future, no matter what it takes." The war with the Warborn was far from over, but humanity had taken the first step toward victory. They had gained the knowledge needed to strike back. The stars were no longer just a destination, they were a battlefield, and humanity was ready to claim their place within it. The Federation was no longer the same. What had begun as a desperate attempt at survival had evolved into something more powerful, a unified, determined force, ready to take the fight to the Warborn. Armed with the knowledge gained from the ancient Warborn stronghold, humanity had turned the tide in their favor. The Warborn's invincible facade was beginning to crack, and Captain Alia Gray, now seen as the symbol of humanity's resilience, was preparing for the next phase of the war. The Discovery had returned to the Proxima Centauri system, where the fleet had begun to reorganize and rebuild. The Federation's forces were stronger than ever, bolstered by new technologies reverse-engineered from the Warborn's ancient stronghold. They had not only learned about the Warborn's devastating weapons, but they had also uncovered the key to their weaknesses. The Warborn were technologically advanced, but their society had relied too heavily on their ancient, rigid systems, making them vulnerable to creative and unconventional tactics. Captain Gray gathered her commanders in the war room aboard the Discovery to plan their next move. "We've learned the Warborn's history. Now, it's time to use that knowledge," Gray began, her voice cold with determination. "They are not just fighting to protect their legacy. They're fighting to survive. They fear humanity's rise, and it's time we show them why they should." Lieutenant Marcus Juno, standing nearby, nodded. "The Warborn are powerful, but they're fractured. They don't work as a cohesive unit like we do. They have pride, but they also have deep internal divisions. We've seen it in the way their ships move, the way they operate." Gray's eyes narrowed. "We'll exploit that. We know they value their ancient traditions above all else, but their obsession with the past has made them blind to the present. If we can hit them where it hurts, disrupt their command structure, we can cripple their forces." The Federation's counterattack began with precision strikes. The Discovery led a small, agile fleet, using hit-and-run tactics to disable Warborn outposts and sabotage their supply lines. The Warborn's command vessels, used to holding supreme control from a distance, were caught off guard by humanity's unconventional methods. The Federation had learned how to strike without warning, striking at the Warborn's most vulnerable points, disrupting their communications, crippling their fleets from within, and forcing them into a chaotic scramble to regain control. The first major victory came when the Discovery ambushed a Warborn supply convoy in the Kessler Belt, far from the Warborn's central hub. The operation was a resounding success. The Federation fleet disabled the convoy's warships, seized valuable supplies, and crippled the Warborn's ability to reinforce their frontline positions. More importantly, the victory sent a message: humanity would not back down. But the Warborn were not so easily undone. Enraged by the Federation's unexpected resistance, the Warborn began to retaliate with full force. Their fleets gathered in the darkest corners of the galaxy, ready to crush humanity's rebellion once and for all. It was then that Captain Gray received a new transmission, a threat. "We are the Warborn. You have awakened a sleeping giant. Leave now, or you will never leave the stars alive." It was a chilling warning, but it only strengthened Gray's resolve. The Federation would not be cowed by threats. The time had come to take the fight directly to the Warborn's home base, to the heart of their empire. The Federation's forces, now bolstered by the intelligence and technology gathered from the Abyss, prepared for an all-out assault on the Warborn's last stronghold, a fortress on the edge of the galaxy, deep within the Alpha Quadrant. This was the Warborn's final bastion, the place where their ancient empire had once thrived. It was a symbol of their power, their pride, and their desperation. Gray knew that to defeat the Warborn, humanity needed to destroy not just their ships, but their very heart. The plan was audacious: strike at the Warborn's stronghold and cripple their ability to wage war. If they could destroy their command center, their fleets would fall apart. It was a high-risk strategy, but it was the only way to truly turn the tide of the war. The Federation's forces mobilized, their fleets now united in purpose. The Discovery would lead the charge, along with the newly repaired Vanguard and Defiant, both equipped with the latest reverse-engineered Warborn technology. The time had come for humanity to face their greatest challenge, and to prove once and for all that they had earned their place among the stars. As the Federation's fleet entered the Alpha Quadrant, they encountered heavy resistance. The Warborn, now fully aware of humanity's tactics, met them with overwhelming force. Massive fleets of Warborn ships, each one far larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen, rose to meet them. The battle that ensued was one for the history books. The Federation fought with everything they had, using their newfound knowledge to outmaneuver the Warborn's tactics. Captain Gray's fleet darted through asteroid fields and gravitational anomalies, dodging the Warborn's devastating firepower and launching precise strikes against their command vessels. Each victory, no matter how small, sent shockwaves through the Warborn ranks. But the Warborn were relentless. As the battle raged on, Captain Gray realized that they could not afford to wait any longer. The final assault on the Warborn stronghold was imminent. With the Federation's fleets drawing the Warborn's attention, Gray ordered the Discovery to slip past the enemy lines and enter the heart of the Warborn fortress. Their objective was clear: destroy the central command hub and cripple the Warborn's ability to wage war. It was a suicide mission, but it was their only chance to break the Warborn stranglehold on the galaxy. As the Discovery neared the heart of the Warborn stronghold, Captain Gray's mind was focused solely on the task ahead. The battle outside was growing fiercer, but this was their moment. They had come too far to fail now. Humanity's future depended on what happened next. The Discovery's crew made their final approach to the command center, knowing that they would either succeed and change the galaxy forever, or fall, heroes of a doomed rebellion. The Warborn might have been ancient and powerful, but humanity had something they could never understand: the will to survive, the will to fight, and the unrelenting drive to forge their own destiny. As the Discovery breached the Warborn's defenses and prepared to launch the final assault, Captain Aaliyah Gray took a deep breath, her voice steady. Now, we show them what humanity is capable of. The moment of truth had arrived. The Federation fleet, now fully engaged in a battle of survival against the Warborn, had pushed to the very edge of their strength. The Discovery, its hull scarred from battle, led the charge toward the Warborn stronghold, a place so entrenched in history that it seemed to pulse with the weight of millennia. The Warborn had once dominated the galaxy from this fortress, and they would die defending it, no matter the cost. Outside the fortress, the battle was a brutal clash of titans. The Warborn's fleet, massive and relentless, threw everything they had at humanity's forces. But the Federation fleet had learned, adapted, and honed its tactics. The Warborn's once imposing firepower, though still formidable, was no match for humanity's cunning. With each strike, each maneuver, the Federation's ships picked apart the Warborn's formation, their resolve beginning to crack. The Warborn had underestimated humanity's resolve. Their mistake had been thinking that the young, untested species would crumble under pressure, but humanity was proving them wrong at every turn. They were not an empire to be crushed, they were a force to be reckoned with. On board the Discovery, Captain Aaliyah Gray stood at the command center, her focus razor-sharp. Her officers had prepared for this moment for months, and their resolve was unwavering. They had seen the Warborn at their most dangerous, but humanity had found its strength in the darkest of times. And now, in this final battle, they would prove that they had earned their place in the stars. "We're almost there," Lieutenant Marcus Juno said, his eyes scanning the tactical displays. "Just a little farther, and we'll be in range of their command center." Gray nodded. "Take us in. We can't let them regroup." The Discovery darted between the hulking Warborn warships, using the asteroid fields and gravitational anomalies as cover to slip past the Warborn defenses. The Federation's main fleet had drawn the bulk of the Warborn's attention, allowing Gray's ship to approach the heart of their empire without being detected. But the Warborn were not blind, they were cunning, and the closer the Discovery got to their fortress, the more dangerous the mission became. The Warborn were prepared for this kind of assault, and their defenses intensified as the Discovery neared the central command hub. Massive energy shields enveloped the fortress, repelling the first few waves of Federation fire. But Gray was undeterred. Her plan had always relied on precision, not brute force. The Federation had learned the Warborn's weaknesses well. "We have one shot at this," she said. "Juno, prepare the EMP charge. We need to disable their shields long enough to breach their central core." Juno turned to her. "Understood. But once we deploy this, we're on our own. The Warborn won't let us leave." Gray's eyes locked on the screen in front of her, showing the glowing heart of the Warborn stronghold. "We're not leaving until it's finished." With the charge ready, the Discovery edged closer to the fortress's heart. The Warborn fleet, still reeling from the Federation's offensive, scrambled to mount a defense, but Gray and her crew had anticipated their moves. As the Discovery neared the command center, Juno initiated the EMP sequence, sending a pulse of energy that shattered the Warborn's shields. The fortress's defenses flickered and faltered for just a moment, and that was all the Federation needed. "We're in!" Juno shouted, and the ship's cannons opened fire, delivering a precise barrage at the exposed weak points of the command hub. The entire structure shook as explosions rocked the Warborn stronghold. But as the fortress began to collapse, the Warborn launched their final, desperate counterattack. The Warborn had once been masters of the stars, and they would not go quietly into the night. Their final weapon, a massive, planet-killing device located deep within the fortress, was activated. It was capable of wiping out entire star systems, a last-ditch effort to prevent the Federation from destroying everything they had built. Gray's heart raced. "Juno, can you disable that device?" Juno's hands flew across the control panels. "I can try, but it's heavily protected. I need time." "How much time?" Gray demanded. 5 minutes. "Maybe less," he replied. Gray clenched her fists. They had no time to waste. As the Discovery dodged enemy fire and accelerated toward the heart of the Warborn stronghold, Gray's thoughts were focused on one thing: survival. If the Warborn unleashed that weapon, the Federation's victory would be meaningless. But she refused to let that happen. Humanity had come too far to be snuffed out by one last, futile strike. "All ships, fall back," Gray ordered. "Protect the Discovery. We need to buy Juno time." The Federation fleet regrouped, protecting the Discovery as it plunged deeper into the heart of the Warborn fortress. The Warborn retaliated with everything they had, but humanity was fighting with everything they had, too. Time seemed to stretch on as the Discovery fought to reach the device. Gray's heart pounded in her chest. They couldn't fail now. 30 seconds. Juno called out, his voice tight with stress. With a final, desperate push, Gray and her crew breached the inner sanctum. The Warborn's planet-killing weapon was before them, its massive, glowing core pulsing with deadly energy. It was their last chance. Juno didn't hesitate. His fingers flew over the console, activating the emergency shutdown sequence. The seconds ticked by, and just as the weapon's core reached its full charge, the system shorted out with a massive explosion of light. The weapon was disabled, its energy collapsing in on itself. "Juno!" Gray shouted, barely able to hear over the chaos. "We did it," he replied, his voice tinged with relief. "The device is offline." With the heart of the Warborn stronghold destroyed, the Federation fleet fought to hold off the remaining Warborn forces. The destruction of the central command hub sent shockwaves through the Warborn fleet. Their coordinated efforts fell apart as their chain of command disintegrated, and in the ensuing chaos, the Federation delivered the final blows. As the dust settled, Captain Gray stood at the helm, gazing at the wreckage of the Warborn stronghold. The battle was over. The Warborn had fallen. Humanity had won.